This is the story of Joseph, a tale of faith, resilience, and the mysterious workings of divine providence. Get ready, because it's a journey you won't forget. Let's dive in. Joseph was the 11th son of Jacob, also called Israel, a patriarch of the Hebrew people. But Joseph wasn't just any son, he was his father's favorite. Jacob loved him more than all his other children because Joseph was the son of Jacob's beloved wife, Rachel, born to him in his old age. To show his favoritism, Jacob made Joseph a coat of many colors, a garment so extravagant and beautiful that it stood out like a beacon among his brothers. Now, let's pause here. Imagine being Joseph's brothers. Every day they saw their father's affection poured out on Joseph alone, while they gazed at nothing but rejection, though it wasn't Joseph's fault. Still, this favoritism caused jealousy to fester in their hearts. But this wasn't the only issue. Joseph started having dreams that painted a picture of the future. He told his brothers about one such dream. "Listen to this dream I had," he said. "We were binding sheaves of grain in the field, and suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down." His brothers were outraged. "What? Are you saying you'll reign over us? Rule us?" Their jealousy turned to hatred, and the rift grew deeper. But Joseph didn't stop there. He shared another dream. "I had another dream," he said. "This time the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing to me." Even Jacob, Joseph's father, rebuked him this time, although he pondered these things in his heart. But for the brothers, this was the last straw. They began to plot. One day, as Joseph approached them in the fields wearing his iconic, colorful coat, their envy boiled over. "Here comes the dreamer," one of the brothers sneered. Another chimed in. "Let's kill him and throw him into one of these pits. We can say a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams." But Reuben, the eldest, tried to save Joseph. "Let's not kill him," he suggested. "Just throw him into this pit here in the wilderness. Don't lay a hand on him." Reuben intended to come back later and rescue Joseph, but things took a devastating turn when Reuben wasn't around. The brothers stripped Joseph of his coat and threw him into the pit. Nearby, a caravan of Ishmaelites was journeying to Egypt, their camels loaded with spices. Judah, one of the brothers, had an idea. "What will we gain if we kill our brother? Let's sell him to the Ishmaelites instead." The others agreed. Thus, Joseph was sold for 20 pieces of silver and dragged away in chains to a foreign land. Heartbroken, Joseph must have wondered why God allowed this betrayal. But as we'll see, God was orchestrating a grander story, one beyond Joseph's understanding. When the brothers returned to their father, they showed him Joseph's bloodied coat, having stained it with goat's blood. Jacob was inconsolable, believing a wild animal had killed his beloved son. Meanwhile, Joseph was sold again in Egypt to a man named Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. Despite his bleak circumstances, Joseph maintained his integrity and faith. He worked diligently, and God was with him, causing everything he did to prosper. Potiphar took notice and made Joseph the overseer of his house. All seemed to be going well, until Potiphar's wife took an immoral interest in Joseph. She tried repeatedly to seduce him, but Joseph refused. He said, "How could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" One day she grabbed his cloak as he ran away, and furious at being rejected, she falsely accused him of assault. Joseph was thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit. Sit with that for a moment. Joseph had done everything right. He had honored God continuously, and yet he was thrown into a dungeon. Wouldn't he have every reason to doubt God's plan? But not Joseph. He trusted that somehow God was still in control. Even in prison, God showed favor to Joseph. The warden saw Joseph's integrity and placed him in charge of the other prisoners. During this time, 2 of Pharaoh's officials, the cupbearer and the baker, were imprisoned and had troubling dreams. Joseph, gifted by God to interpret dreams, listened to them. To the cupbearer, Joseph said, "Your dream means you'll be restored to your position in 3 days." And to the baker, he said, "Your dream means you'll be executed in 3 days." Sure enough, it happened just as Joseph said. Joseph asked the cupbearer to remember him and speak to Pharaoh about his wrongful imprisonment. But as human nature often goes, the cupbearer forgot about Joseph for 2 whole years. Then, one day, Pharaoh had dreams that no one could interpret. Finally, the cupbearer remembered Joseph. Called to stand before Pharaoh, Joseph credited God for his ability to interpret dreams. Pharaoh recounted his dreams, and Joseph explained, "God is revealing that there will be 7 years of abundant harvest, followed by 7 years of famine. Appoint a wise and discerning man to store food during the good years, so Egypt can survive the famine." Pharaoh was amazed by Joseph's wisdom. "Can we find anyone like this man in whom is the Spirit of God?" he said. Joseph, the slave and prisoner, was elevated to second in command over all of Egypt. Pharaoh placed his signet ring on Joseph's finger and clothed him in fine linen, granting him authority over the land. During the famine, Joseph's brothers came to Egypt seeking food. They didn't recognize him, but Joseph immediately knew who they were. Deep emotions rose within him, pain from their betrayal, mixed with compassion for his starving family. Testing their character, Joseph orchestrated a series of events before finally revealing himself. "I am Joseph," he said, tears streaming down his face. "Is my father still alive?" Terrified, his brothers were speechless, expecting retribution. But Joseph said, "Don't be afraid. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Joseph forgave. He brought his entire family to Egypt, settling them in a fertile region called Goshen. Through his suffering, Joseph saved his family and countless others, proving that what man means for evil, God can use for good. So, what can we learn from this story? First, faith in God doesn't mean life will be easy or fair. Joseph faced jealousy, betrayal, false accusations, and imprisonment, yet he held on to his faith, trusting God's greater purpose. Second, forgiveness is transformative. Joseph forgave his brothers, breaking the vicious cycle of hatred and revenge. And lastly, God's timing is perfect. Through years of unimaginable trials, Joseph's patience and trust in God led to a resolution beyond anything he could have imagined. His journey teaches us to cling to faith, even when circumstances seem bleak. This is the story of Joseph, a vibrant testament to God's power to turn pits into palaces, suffering into salvation, and betrayal into blessing.